Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today I'm just going to do a quick video on theta about targets and numbers and things like that. Um, I guess maybe it raised a couple eyebrows, $80 to $100 on my last video. So I'm going to kind of show you how I got that target and why it's not that out of the world for a wave 3. So basically, if I take a Fibonacci, right, and I pull it down to the low, given that, right, given that this is the low, it may not be the low, right? And you say, well, why it might not be the low? Because it could be that red scenario, that red pathway scenario that I talked about, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And if that's the case, then you have to pull it down a little bit, and that will change the numbers. That will definitely change the numbers in a good way, in a good way. So, but that's not happened yet, so I'm going to treat it as if that is the low. So if this is the low at 56 cents and the high is at $16.59, just about, then the target is around the 1.618. So the way you measure wave 3 is by taking the value of wave 1. So this whole wave from here all the way to here, that's wave 1, right? So wave 1, and remember, targets are different from log scale to linear scale. If I used a linear scale target, the 4.236 Fibonacci extension, a full Fibonacci extension, comes in at around $67. So all I got to do, I'll go here, and I'm going to show you why I use log scale, not linear scale for wave 3s, and especially for crypto. It's very hard to look at a chart. Like I'll do it right now. I'll put this in linear scale. I'll go regular, and now look how much different the chart changes. It just looks like a bubble, right? And it's very hard to read the data that's down here. It just looks like a flat line. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know why people like. I mean, I get the short time frames, the 4-hour chart, maybe the daily chart, closer in, maybe stock market, things like that. But when you're looking at crypto, you're looking at magnitudes of thousands and thousands of percents. If I take it down here and I go all the way up, look, I'm not even halfway there and I'm already at almost 8,000%. That's why it doesn't make sense to me to look at a chart in linear scale, especially crypto and especially assets in the league of theta that are doing magnitudes of percentages in the first wave. It's not even wave 3 yet, right? We're only in the second wave. So wave 1 went all the way up to, wow, I can't, it's just like, I might not be exactly on the dot on the bottom, but you get my drift. It's over 190,000%. So if I just take it from the top of here, right there, that's still a massive move. I mean, that's almost 4,000%. So if I can't fit the whole wave on my chart, so if I'm looking at data down here, right, I can't see all the data that's up there. I have to scrunch my chart all the way down to see it. And I'm still going, and I'm still going, and I'm still going. That wave, look at this wave is so monstrous that in comparison to this candle and this candle and this candle, these candles are nothing. They're like little ants. And this is the Eiffel, or this is a a mega tall building. So, you know, it that's why I don't like to do that, right? So here's the whole chart, and you tell me how hard that is to read. It's just like, what am I looking at here? There's no structure, right? It just, it doesn't give me any information. Now watch this. I put it to log scale. Now things look more clear to me, right? Everything is proportional. So log scale is all about proportionality, and as far as percentages go, right? So the percentage move from here to here, right, is the same percentage move from here to here. Or if you take that right there, you know, whatever that percentage move is, and you apply it to, say, up here, then it's going to be the same, right? So whatever the length of this to this is going to be the same length to here or wherever, right? But when in linear scale, this is a little tiny ant, and you can't see this is a wave here. So that's why I don't like to use it. Okay, so as far as targets go, you can use linear scale targets or log scale targets. The reason why I use log scale targets in crypto is because of the magnitudes of percentages they do. This is not like, you know, Coca-Cola stock where it's barely moving, right? This is a new technology that is taking over the world, you know, slowly but surely. There's a lot of fighting, right? There's a lot of fighting, because it's basically, crypto is the basis of the new financial system, right? So if you look at the world and you look at who controls the world, it's the central banks. They've been controlling things for a very long time. And they understand that, you know, when Bitcoin first came out, they fought it, right? There's a speech, I think it was Tim Draper. He was on the stage with Gary Gensler. So type in Gary Gensler and Tim Draper. And Tim Draper is a Bitcoin enthusiast and a crypto enthusiast. And Gary Gensler, he's a Goldman Sachs banker boy. He does not like crypto, right? So that's why he fights crypto. That's why he was appointed by our wonderful president, right? You know, wink, wink, right? You know, so he's our chairman, right? So, and I'm not trying to be political, but at the end of the day, crypto is politics, because crypto is the solution to the answer that we need, right? If you look at the world, look how screwed up it is. Why is it messed up? Because every problem on the planet revolves around what? Money. It's all about money. And whoever controls the world's money controls the world, right? So crypto is the antidote to control. So they're like freaking out right now. Like, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? So they have to adopt it, right? They realized, OMG, they're crapping themselves back in 2012, 2014. And then once 2017 happened, Bitcoin hit 20K, they realized, oh my goodness, we're screwed, right? We're screwed. You know, they realized Bitcoin wasn't the solution, but they understood that the technology Bitcoin was founded on, which is distributed ledger technology, right? They understood that they cannot beat this. It's a blockchain that it's immutable, right? It's unconfiscatable. You can't confiscate it, right? So they could try to tax it out of existence. They could try to do little tricky things. They could try to KYC up the wazoo, but they can't destroy it. And they know and we know their plan, right? Their plan is to control it the best way they know how. And what is that? By creating their own version of it. And we know that as a CBDC, right? So they say, okay, and I'm not saying CBDCs are good or bad. What I'm saying is they can be used for good or bad. Crypto is, it's like a tool, right? A tool can be used to build a house, or a tool could be used to slay 1,000 lives. So, it depends on who's using that tool, right? So do we use it for freedom or do we use it for control? And it's a slippery slope, right? And that's why they don't like the retail crypto like Bitcoin and things like that, because even Theta, right? Do you think they like the idea of Theta having basically distributed bandwidth? No, they want to control the bandwidth. They don't want something that does that. So basically, I'm going off subject like I usually do, but that's the reality of it. So we going back to the price of Theta. I mean, look at this move here. I mean, if I take it from the bottom to the top, right? That's 43,000%. That's a game changer right there. So in a world where people are, you know, dying for new and improved technology, these are the answers. And central banks have to sort of, they can't come out and say no crypto, we're going to ban it, because that wouldn't work. It would everybody would, fight it, right? So they have to do it sneaky. So for example, the Bitcoin ETF, everybody knows about that. It was supposed to be approved. It didn't get approved. Why? Because it's all about delay, deny, delay, deny, delay, deny, delay, deny. If they can continue to do that, what they do is they're buying time, right? They're buying time for their new system, right? And I think their new system is going to be introduced soon, right? It's already, it doesn't mean like one day they're going to come out and flip the switch and it's done. It's probably going to be a slow, methodical transition. And then once it happens, people don't even realize it just happened, right? So that's why we go back to regulations, right? How much percentage terms do you think theta for a wave 3 could occur if we had proper regulation? So I want you to think about all the institutions out there. Institutions with billions of dollars, like BlackRock and things like that, right? And not even just BlackRock, but different investment groups, many different types of institutions, right? They all want to get into crypto. They want to, but more than that, they want to utilize it. But they can't do that because they're a part of a company, and those companies are coded through the rule of law. And if something isn't regulated, it's all about, protection, right? They don't want to be sued. They don't want to be sued. A CEO can go on his phone and buy something on Coinbase, but his company can't. What kind of sick world is that, right? Because the regulations aren't there. So think about it. If crypto had regulation, then all the billions and trillions of dollars could flood in there and start building it up. But once again, the central banks, right, they don't like that. That's why they own Congress. You think Congress, right? We have our politicians and we elect them to do the work. There's some of them that are good that want to do the work. But at the end of the day, it's not the politician, it's the system itself, right? They can't, even if one guy in our government wanted to do something, he couldn't do it because the politicians are owned by central banks. They're owned by, the special interest groups, the lobbyists, right? Think about all the lobbyists and the special interest. If some big shot owns a pharmaceutical company and he pays a congressman, whatever millions of dollars of back channeled money to say, hey, don't vote for this bill because this bill will be bad for my company. It's all that's what Washington is in a nutshell. So if you magnitude that by 1,000,000 and say, okay, central banks are in there and saying, hey, don't approve this ETF because it's going to be bad for our banks, right? Because think about back then, I remember buying stuff on Coinbase and my bank, Wells Fargo, said, no, 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 you can't buy it anymore, right? I go, why? It's my money. Because they realize what people are doing. People are exiting the banking system. Banks don't work without two things: trust and currency. If they don't have trust, they're gone. If they don't have currency, they're gone. So crypto basically is a reflection of their dying system. That's all crypto is. Crypto is a reflection of how terrible banks really are. And people might say, I have good experiences with banks, but that's at the retail level. And yeah, they hold your money. But at the end of the day, if you have 10 grand in the bank, they are leveraging your 10 grand over 10 times that. So 100 grand, right? So for every dollar you have, they lend that out. They lend that same dollar out 10 times. And to me, that's not right. Because what they're doing is they're leveraging our money in their benefit when they're supposed to just keep it safe and sound, right? If they want to leverage it, that's fine. But why don't they include us in their percentage gains, right? We don't get anything for keeping our money in the bank. If I kept 10 grand in savings in 2 years, how much would I have? I probably wouldn't have $5 in interest, not even $5. So what sort of rigged deal is that, right? People say, leave your money in savings, you get interest. You get nothing. You get nothing. That's why people are not buying it anymore, right? If central banks were to say, you can put your money in here and we're going to loan it out and we're going to give you a percentage of what we make based off that loan, right? Then it could be a viable business, right? But it's not. They're basically ripping people off, and people don't even realize it. But even at the higher level, the Federal Reserve, that's even a more sinister, corrupt system, because that system, right, is private. So you have to ask yourself one thing: why is a private system in control of our multi-hundred-trillion-dollar economy? Does that make sense to you? To me, it would be either the thing that's in control is not in control, it's decentralized, or we elect those who are in control of it. But the Federal Reserve, we don't elect them, they are appointed. That is not a good thing. And number two, they don't have your best interest, right? And why is that? Because their whole system is based off of empowering itself, and the only way they can do that is by making you work harder for less over time. And that is through what? Inflation. They're stealing your money through inflation. And they say, well, they can't do anything about it, right? They can't control it. Well, of course they can, right? They can change their whole entire system, but they choose not to, because then they would be choosing to give up control. And they realize that their system is coming to an end, right? And in my opinion, now what I'm about to tell you is conspiracy, but this is what my hunch is, right? Hopefully I don't get a strike, but I feel like the C-19 deal, the whole debacle there, was supposed to be the linchpin to usher in to this new system, but it didn't work because, we didn't have a president, obviously, at that time that was easily controlled, right? He did his own thing. So, it was supposed to shut down the global economy, make things stop, right? Make everything stop so that when they turn it back on, it's not the same anymore. And ever since that happened, it's definitely put a major blast, a major bomb, right, that went off in our economy, but at the same time, it didn't stop it completely, right? So now they're like, okay, what do we do now, right? Oh, how about what was the next event after C-19? Russia, Ukraine. That was the whole thing, right? And what happens when war breaks out? People sell their stock, they get scared, the business slows down, and then what do? They blame it on the war, right? They say, well, why aren't, remember how all the cargo ships are out in the docks, and people aren't getting their products? They're saying it's a supply chain. The supply chain is, it's all messed up. The supply chain's all messed up. Why is it all messed up? And then they say, well, it's because of the war. It was because of C-19. Look, think of the bankers like gangsters. Go back to The Godfather. Remember that movie? They do malicious things on the world stage, and they pump it out through their bought and paid for media, right? The media is, I don't even want to get into that, but wow, it's just like the ultimate mind controlling device. I mean, yeah, they break stories, they tell the truth on, they could tell the truth on a story, but as far as the story goes, it's not about the story. It's about the narrative. It's all about narrative, because narrative persuades people. It's all about public opinion and narrative. And they have to drive a story in the narrative that they form so that they can control the votes and things like that. They can control things, right? Like I said, I don't want to get into all that, but you see where I'm coming from. The topic here is central banks and their fear of crypto. And that is why you should be so bullish on crypto, because they are very afraid, right? And I believe, just like a movie, right? We're in a movie. You have good guys and you have bad guys, right? I mean, come on, you have to believe that. You have to believe that there are good guys out there fighting for what's right. And you have to believe that there are bad people out there that's fighting for what they want, right? And a lot of that is at the central bank level. So when you go back to crypto, to me, that is the solution to what the world needs, right? But here's the problem. The people that are in control, like, for example, I'll give you a great example. The last chairman, I can't think of his name right now. Jay Clayton. Okay. Jay Clayton sued on his last day. Think about that for just, isn't this just crazy, like ridiculous? So on his last day in office, think about what they were trying to do psychologically, right? On his last day, because they could have easily just did it on Gary's term, Gary Gensler, but they did it on his last day. And you say, what? They sued Ripple on his last day. Now, you may not care about Ripple. You may think it's whatever, right? And, you might be right? You may be right. But I look at Ripple, the company, as sort of what they're trying to do, right? So if they're suing Ripple, right, on his last day of office, and then the second one comes in and enforces that same lawsuit under two totally different presidents, right? Two totally different chairmen, two totally different presidents suing the same exact company. So what do you think they were trying to do there, right? The reason why they sued him on the last day is because they wanted the narrative to seeing that, yes, Ripple is corrupt, they're a security, they should have known better, when in fact Ripple was meeting with the SEC basically every day. They are a multi-$100 million company. You don't think they're going to want to follow the law the best way they can, right? So they're meeting with everybody, all types of regulatory. They're meeting with regulators all the time, right? They want to do it the right way, and then they do this, and then all of a sudden they get sued, and they say, "Well, you should have known better." And you go, "What do you mean? I went up to you and I asked you what did I needed to do." They go, "Well, you should have known better. It was a security." Well, I asked you in the beginning, and you said to file this and do that. And now you're suing me out of nowhere. So what does that mean? Number one, they're doing it for money. But number two, they want to set a narrative that XRP was Ripple the company, and XRP is the poster child for what's to come, because this is what they think. Now, you might not care about XRP, but I'm going to circle this back to Theta and other cryptos as well, and you're going to see like, whoa. So here's the problem, right? If I'm an XRP hater, I'm cheering, yes, yes, they got sued. Go to hell, shitcoin, right? And but if you look deeper, then you can see that Ripple and XRP have been in the top 10, top 5 since the beginning of time. They are a major, major player in the world of crypto as far as payments, right? Working with a lot of banks. And you may say, well, XRP is not the price of XRP is not a reflection of all their hard work. Yeah, they're two different things, right? Basically, their approach is the XRP ledger and building on the ledger. And what's good for the ledger, theoretically, is good for XRP, right? And that's the case. But Ripple, the company, they are a big player, right? So what the SEC is thinking is, look, if I can sue Ripple, one of the biggest blockchain, because you can't go up and sue Bitcoin, right? Who's the CEO of Bitcoin? Nobody, right? Who is Bitcoin's lawyers, right? Nobody, right? You can't take down the giant. And then Ethereum, okay, Ethereum. Well, let's go after Ethereum. Oh, but wait, Ethereum is the second best. So instead of suing them, let's corrupt them. Ever heard of ETHgate? ETHgate. Look it up. Go to John, type in, I don't know, go to YouTube, type in John Deaton ETHgate explanation or something. And it'll kind of give you a brief history of what it is. But basically, the government comes in, talks to Ethereum and says, look, Ethereum. And I don't blame Ethereum. I don't blame them at all. I maybe would have done the same thing. I don't know. But think about it. If you're the CEO, Vitalik, right? You're Vitalik. The government comes in and knocks on your door and says, look, we're going to do some deals together. And if you don't do these deals with me, you're not going to get rich. But more than that, you are going to be labeled as a security. So go to Bill Hinman, the speech, right? Hinman gave a speech saying, look, ETH is not a security, when in fact that was just his opinion. But what he was doing is not stating a fact. He was forming a narrative. A narrative to protect what? His financial interest, which is what? Government, right? The worst thing, in my opinion, on planet Earth that comes with government is none other than all the bureaucrats, right? He's just another bureaucrat out there using taxpayer money to fulfill whatever he wants, right? Which is most of the time control, money, power, all that. So instead of going after Ethereum, the giant, right? And I'm going to talk about why they didn't go after them. And this is one reason, right? Because they wanted to utilize them. They wanted to make sure that basically they're their little puppet, right? So I'm not saying completely, but there are deals. I'm not going to get into all the ETHgate stuff, but it's a real deal. And that's partly why Ripple won the lawsuit, because Ripple told the judge, hey, let us see those emails. Let us see the Hinman emails. Let us see this. Let us see his calendar. And they wouldn't want to do it. So why not? What do you got to hide, right? So that's why they didn't go after Ethereum. and the SEC tyrannical takeover, right? So if you notice, the SEC is relentless, and FTX was a plant, if you could believe it or not. FTX was put in there by this dude, right? I'm not going to say his name. You know who I'm talking about. A very bad person. But on the outside, he looks like a dorky, nerdy, kind of maybe semi-likable guy. But on the inside, he is very bad, right? And what did he do? He frauded millions, billions of dollars out of millions of people. And did he do it by himself? No. That's why I'll say his name. I don't blame Sam 100%, right? I think he has to be in prison for the rest of his life, but I don't think he was the top dog in this deal. I think FTX was, again, I go back to The Godfather. I go back to the SEC. I go back to the government and their malicious tactics, right? And this is conspiracy now. I'm not, when I say something that I don't know for sure, I'm going to let you know, right? I'm not stating it as a fact, but the conspiracy side of me suggests that the FTX crash and the downfall was basically planted from the beginning so that Gary Gensler can come out on stage and say, look at this. Look at this. Like, think about, somebody who got, you run outside and look, somebody got murdered. Look at this. When in fact, you're the person that did it, right? You're the person who did it, but you're like, look at this. He got, what happened here? So he used the FTX crash to basically pump up the enforcement. The FTX crash was a golden egg for the SEC because that allowed the SEC to, ramp up enforcement, because when all of that happened, people got hurt. Think about if you were in FTX and you got hurt, I feel for you, man. It sucks. It sucks. So people are hurt, right? And when people get hurt, they want answers, right? So Gary took this not because he cares about you or me or anybody else. He took it to leverage it to be more. He took it to be more corrupt, right? So everybody doesn't like FTX, and now they're targeting Binance, right? They're targeting the exchanges. Now, you could feel what you want about exchanges. Everybody has an opinion about exchanges, right? But deep down, we need exchanges, right? I would like for exchanges to be completely decentralized. For example, like atomic swaps. You put I want to sell 2 Bitcoin for this much Ethereum or whatever. So this person has this much of Ethereum, this person has this much Bitcoin. It swaps. The fees are very, very low. You just have to pay for the transaction cost. There's nobody in, like for example, Binance, they're a company. They need to get paid. Their business model is based off profit, right? But those profits are coming from us. And that's where I'm like, well, let's just make it decentralized. But, Binance, they can have their issues, right? But at the end of the day, it's not about Binance's issues. It's about the SEC wanting to go after them, right? They went after Kraken, right? They went after Coinbase, right? Now they're going after Binance. And what happened to make that happen? The FTX collapse. The FTX collapse basically opened the door for their enforcement to rein in, right? So it's just like, this is a very bad example. Hopefully people don't get offended, but when 9/11 happened, it opened the door for more airport security. Now, I don't have a problem with airport security. I want to be safe when flying on a plane, but it's more of a control thing. It's not about them caring for your safety. It's about them controlling things, you know. So and it really comes down to the financial system, and then back to theta, which, by the way, my target for theta, just to clear up the last video, is between $67. I said $80 to $100 just to, you know, let's just be even numbers here. But if you want the real number, it's between 67 and 134. And you may say, that's a big difference. Well, yeah, we don't know, right? We have to wait and see how these waves form in here, right? So if we have a wave 1, a wave 2, a wave 3, and a wave 4, then we can measure the wave 3 and the wave 4 to suggest a more accurate target when we get up here. So that's the deal. So I know it's very hard to think about theta hitting $100, and it is, but at the same time, if you take this off, right, this is all symmetrical. 1, 2, 3. Doesn't that look even to you? Doesn't that look proportional to you? If you look at this wave here, look at the length of it. And now just take that same wave and just put it right there. It might not, make it completely there, but from a proportionality, it's right on track. And when you're looking at log scale, everything is proportional. So we're only in a wave 1. Wave 3 is way more explosive, but not necessarily in percentage terms, right? So if I flip this to linear scale, watch how crazy it's going to look. See, now it looks different, right? Now it looks like, whoa, that doesn't look like it's possible. Look at this. If I zoom all the way in here, we're barely right here, right? So if we want to get to that target, look how high we have to go. If I scrunch it all in, you could see, right? So in that case, right, if you want to be proportional with linear scale, then you're looking at, this is your wave, this is your crash, and this is your second wave. Probably $26, $27, which, by the way, is going to be my first target for theta. That is my first target for theta, is that $26, $27 mark. Could that be the total end of theta's run? It's possible, but if you take a measurement from the all-time high to that $26, $27 area, that's only a 67% move in price discovery. That's not a lot. And especially for a wave 3, right? So that's why I don't use linear scale in crypto, especially for wave 3s, because the magnitudes, they don't make sense. It's the measurements are different, right? When you're looking at, the Nike stock, or even when you look at Tesla, I mean, that had a massive bubble, right? So I think bull markets and trends are better looked at log scale. Bear markets typically and small time frames are looked better at linear scale. But at the end of the day, I just use log scale. It makes life so much easier. So basically, that's all I have to say. I know I said I was going to be a short video, but at the end of the day, I think this is very possible for us to get to this target area, right? And it's a big range. But we'll just have to wait and see. So, and then here's the thing. If Theta was a nobody project, it could hit the 1618. But so I take that into account. I look at the chart and then I look at the project, right? I look at the roadmap of the project, right? Which is really not a project anymore. It's in full swing. So given that Theta is a remarkable system, right? Never before seen, definitely utility driven, then there's no question in my mind we can hit that $80 to $100 target, right? Given the fact that the bare minimum is the 4.236 linear scale, which comes in around $67. So if we hit $67 on the dot, and that's the top, hey, I'll be a happy camper. I don't know about you, but I don't think that's the case. I think it's going to be a lot higher. Now to circle back, now this is where I form everything together. This is where I put everything I just said. I plug it in all together. So going back to the corruption of the central banking system. Remember, we don't live in a people system. We live in a central banking fiat currency system that prints money out of thin air, loans it to the government with interest attached, then we, the taxpayer, have to pay it back plus interest. What sort of rigged deal is that? That is why they are so afraid of crypto. That is why we don't really need a tax system, right? If you look at, for example, the income tax was initially proposed to pay for the Civil War, back when the blue coats and the gray coats were fighting, right? The North and the South. The North had certain things, the South had certain things, but none of them had the full package, right? So they implemented the income tax to help pay for the Civil War. So once the central bank at that time, once the banks, I don't know if they had exactly a central bank, I'm not a history buff, but once they got a taste of that income tax money, the government, the politicians, once they got a taste of it, they never went back. They said, we're going to keep this forever. But the income tax was there to pay for the Civil War. So how did the government survive without the income tax prior to the war? You may say, well, the government is nowhere near the size it is back then. It was basically nothing, right? And that's true. But I've seen some interesting models where if you eliminate, so the reason why our taxes are high is because of the debt. The reason why the debt is high is because of the system we live in is a debt-based system. Now I'm going to circle it back to crypto. If we have a system that's built on a decentralized peer-to-peer network, right? Whether you choose, right? You want it to be Bitcoin, go for it. You want it to be Litecoin, go for it. You want it to be some CBDC that's got some type of gold backing or bond backing or, well, not bond backing because bonds are what? Debt. So if you eliminate debt, a debt-based system, right? By the way, the biggest asset America has is student loan debt. What kind of sadness is that? So this whole system is just a debt-based system, and it's not a good thing. So crypto is the answer, and I'm sure you agree with that. It's anti-government, it's anti-control, right? And that is why the SEC is on a rampage right now. They are rampaging, and that is why they went after everybody. But guess what? Ripple won the lawsuit, which gives us a slice of hope. It doesn't matter how you feel about Ripple or XRP, but they won. Think of XRP and Ripple as the poster child for SEC. So if that's the case, then we can see some really interesting things down the road, right? Because at the end of the day, what do we need? We need regulations. That's number one, right? If we want to see theta hit like I had in our previous video, this is our base. This is wave 1. This is wave 2. This is wave 3. This is wave 4. This is wave 5, right? If we want to get into that $1,000 plus area, we're going to need some serious capital, liquidity, market cap to back it up. And the only way you get that is with adoption, utility. Theta has the utility. Theta has everything about it. And I'm using Theta as an example. This goes for all crypto that has utility. But Theta as an example, if we want to get to these high numbers, we got to have, number one, regulation. So that way the institutions can come in and play by the rules of the law. Why don't we have regulation? Because the banks don't want to give it. Because this is the biggest part. Here's the grand finale right here. Banks don't want to give regulation. That's why we don't have it. We should have been regulated a long time ago. Never happened. Why? Because they didn't want it to be regulated. Why? Because if they knew, if the banks went in there and said, okay, Congress, by the way, banks control everything. Banks went in there and said, hey, Congress, can you do us a favor and regulate crypto? They would have did it in a New York minute. But they didn't. They wanted to stall it. Why? Because if regulations happened, then what? The institutions can get in. Once the institutions get in, they don't want to get out, right? When you got into crypto, when you first got into crypto and you made money and you felt that wave of return, did you want to get out? No. When the market crashed, you probably wanted to give out. But now that you learned, right, you've came a long way from the beginning of your crypto journey till today, right this moment. You've came a long way in your understanding of crypto and money and central banks and blockchain and things like that. I'm sure you've had done your research, right? So now that your research is, I wouldn't say complete because our research is never complete, but now that you have a great understanding of it, does that mean you want to stop crypto? No. You want to keep going with crypto because you know how valuable crypto is and you know how valuable, much more valuable it's going to be, right? So banks cannot have regulators regulate crypto because if crypto is regulated, then that means the institutions would come in and then at that point it's all over for them because, institutions have plenty of money. And where do they keep their money? In the banks, right? That's the key. That's the grand finale right there. Write that down right there. That is the reason. And, it could be speculation. It could be conspiracy, right? But that's the reason. We don't have regulations because if it's regulated, then why would institutions keep their money in banks? They wouldn't. Because okay, I'll give you an example. Staking. Everybody knows staking, right? But what's happening with staking right now? The SEC is coming down, a lot of the government. They don't like staking. Why? Because you earning APY on your money is direct threat, direct competition with central banks. And they cannot have that, not even for a little bit. But staking is just a small part of it, right? Everybody's heard of DeFi, right? Decentralized finance. That is what they are very afraid of because who controls finance? Banks. If it's decentralized finance, then who benefits? The person who needs financial whatever, right? So, for example, I'll give you, here's the biggest thing right here. Banks operate under profit. Okay, where does that profit come from? You. It comes from you. You're giving the bank profit. Okay, so who would rather have the profit? You keep your own profit, or the bank keeps it? You want to keep it. Okay, so if you're a multi-billion-dollar institution, do you want your money getting benefited by banks, or do you want the institution, you're the institution, you want to preserve your capital, you want to grow your capital, right? Because if the banks, they depend on profits, right? But decentralized finance, who's getting the profit? Nobody. Why? Because it's all autonomous, right? It's strictly autonomous, right? I'm sure you've heard of an autonomous vehicle, a vehicle that runs by itself. It doesn't need a government authority. It doesn't need a CFO or a CEO or a chain of command or a board of directors or anything like that, right? It doesn't need secretaries and assistants. They all have to get paid. They have to get paid, right? They all work in the bank. They have to get paid. But guess what? Welcome cryptocurrency, welcome blockchain technology, welcome decentralized finance, decentralized apps, dApps, right? Welcome all this new stuff. It's so revolutionary. It's OMG. But what's the problem? It's not. It's only $1 trillion market cap. We are sitting on a mountain of gold. Literally. This mountain is like a volcano. It's going to explode. But the government and the central banks, who are basically owned by the government, they cannot have that, because then they lose all control, right? It's all about traditional finance, traditional banking, traditional this, because keeping it status quo is what they want. But here's the problem. They understand that they can't keep it status quo. Why? Because they understand that they can't beat crypto. Go back to Tim Draper, Google Tim Draper, Gary Gensler on stage. Tim Draper gets up with his goofy tie and he says, right next to the banker, right next to Gary, they call him Gary Goldman Sachs, right? Gary Goldman Gensler, because he's a Goldman Sachs boy. He doesn't care about you or me or anybody. He cares about what? His banker boys, right? It's all about the banker boys, the banksters, right? The mafia, the real puppet masters of the planet. I mean, I can say the R word, and not the word you think, but the Rothschilds, right? All that stuff. You could say that, right? Things like that. The families, the real families. They say, who's the richest man on the planet? Elon Musk. No, he's not. Not even close. That's fake, right? Central banks don't want attention. They are in the shadows, right? Think of central banks as the ultimate puppet masters. They pull the strings and the politician sings, right? Like, I could give you a good example, Elizabeth Warren. If you think she is straight edge, then, man, I don't know. You should do a little bit more research on that. But she is clearly an operative of whatever they say and however they say it. So, yeah, that's the world we live in. And it's probably, when I'm saying this, you probably already know this, right? Most people already understand the situation that we're in. And you say, well, how can we get through this, right? How does this happen? If the banks are in control and they don't want regulation, then what's the point of being in crypto if they're going to ultimately win in the end? Because I believe that they're not going to win. Going back to the good guys and the bad guys, I believe that there are more good guys than bad guys. I believe that we are in this massive awakening process, right? So whatever political side, it's not about politics. It's about right versus wrong. It's about, your freedom, really. And I think all of this is coming to a head, right? And going back to, the excuse for why central banks wanted this to be, destroyed, right? That our economy, remember I said C19, they use that as their tool. And then I said, okay, that didn't work. So what next? Well, now you have Russia and Ukraine. Well, that didn't work. So what's next? Right? And then what do we have going on now? Right? You have Israel and Hamas. So it seems like, you see the theme here? They're trying their hardest to disrupt and distract and cause issues. And, whatever you feel about it, I'm not saying it's all fake. There are real people dying out there, and it's very sad. I'm not for either side. I'm for life, right? I don't care what their differences are. It's at the end of the day, it's who's giving the order to drop the bombs. That, and then who's giving that order, right? Those are the people you should be having a problem with, not the citizens of either country, right? Both citizens are just like people, you and me. They're trying to survive in this world, right? So, our government, their deep state, our deep state, right? That's the issue. And cryptocurrency is one of the biggest solutions we can offer to make this planet a better place. So, Theta, $100 is nothing compared to, the true potential of where we're going, right? So looking at the price of Theta on CoinMarketCap, we see that it is, say, about $1 billion, right? So the circulating supply is 1 billion, and the market cap is 1 billion, right? So by that logic, $1 billion is $1. Okay, so just think about that. So if Theta hits a market cap of $50 billion, which is nothing, by the way, compared to what this thing can really do, but let's say Theta can hit 50 billion, which I believe it can, then that gives Theta a valuation of $50, which is not bad at all. Not bad at all. So, in order for Theta to get to, and don't quote me on my math, I could be a little off, but I'm just going by, if the maximum supply of Theta, I'm not really educated on this part, but if the maximum supply of Theta is 1 billion, or is it, $1 billion, 1 billion coins, right? And right now we're at about $1 billion market cap. Okay, so if Theta hits 100 billion, that gives Theta $100, right? So something like that. Do I think that's possible? Well, if, like I said, going back into all this video, our planet has a lot of issues it needs to take care of. I think those issues are coming to a head because they understand that their system can't last forever. They understand people, because you have people knocking on the door. I want crypto, right? The J.P. Morgan and BlackRock, all their customers are like, I want crypto, and they're sitting there saying, well, we can't give it to you because it's not regulated. So Congress is feeling pressure to get this regulated. They're going to try to regulate it in a rigging manner where, it's going to be benefited for them. It's going to be like ridiculous regulations, but at least it's something, right? Because obviously, if we have a foundation, then the next administration could potentially change it, benefit, right? So I think once we get regulation and once we have a system where people are no longer 100% dependent on central banks, right? Because that's what it's all about. People say, well, why isn't crypto? It's only $1 trillion market cap. It's only a drop. The money in crypto is only a drop in a 50-gallon bucket, right? So that's it. It's only a small drop, and well, people say, well, if it's the greatest technology, why isn't there more? Why isn't there more drops? Well, it's because people are complacent. People are conditioned, right? Think about the average mom and dad who wake up, go to work, and they heard about Bitcoin, they've heard about crypto, but they don't really understand it. It seems a little complicated. They don't like risking their money. Think about that type of family. Why do they need crypto? There's no reason for it because they have a central bank. They have a bank, right? They put their money in the bank. They have a checking account. They have a mortgage. What more do they need? What solution is being brought to help them out? They don't know, right? Because all the solutions are being taken care of by their local bank, right? So if you decentralize the banks, then it gives them a need to explore different types of avenues for whatever financial needs they have. And the biggest one on planet Earth is payments. And that's why I'm very bullish on Ripple and XRP, because payments are one of the biggest things on planet Earth, right? When I send money, if I send money to Africa or Malaysia or whatever, it's going to cost, right? I have to send it through Western Union, or I have to send it through a bank, a wire transfer. It takes a lot of time. It costs a lot of money. And, even then, it doesn't guarantee it's always sent. But with crypto, it's instant, right? It's instantaneous. So, and that's the other problem I go back with central banks. They don't like that because then they can't control where the money's going. I heard a football player the other day saying, I wanted to take out $200,000 out of my bank, and my bank didn't let me. It's my money. Why can't you let me take it out? Right? Oh, well, we'll give it to you in a minute. We'll call you next week. Bull crap. That's my money. I want it now. Right? They delay, they deny, they delay. Right? So that's the issue. Banks are insolvent. And here's the point, right? What comes next? In my opinion, conspiracy alert. In my opinion, it's some type of cyber attack. They've already announced it. The deep state, they like to. I shouldn't say that because I might get a strike. But the powers that be say that they say that they understand that their system is coming to an end, right? Everybody can feel it. Everybody knows, look at the stock market, look at the economy, everybody talking about recession, depression. People know things are not right. So that's right in front of us. So the question is, what is the catalyst? What will be the excuse for that to be ushered into? I think it could potentially be a cyber attack. They've announced it. The powers that be like to announce what they're going to do before they do it, right? So I could be wrong, right? Everything can be the same it is now for the next 5 to 10 years. Who knows? Not financial advice. Nothing I say is financial advice, or even I could be totally wrong on everything everything I say today, but I feel like there are people out there that would agree with me on certain things, and now you kind of know where I stand on this. But at the end of the day, we're all on the same side. And tribalism in crypto doesn't benefit crypto at all, right? It's just like religion, right? Like it's great to be religious, but to have somebody force their whatever onto somebody else that doesn't want it, it's doesn't make sense, right? So it's like crypto, my coin is better than your coin, whatever, right? But at the end of the day, it's kind of silly because a professional investor, which I assume everybody here is a professional, right? We are all diverse. It's great to be diverse, right? You pick your targets and you shoot. You pick your targets and you shoot, right? So I picked theta, you picked, I would assume, theta, right? So, and we all have our reasons why. So at the end of the day, a central bank cyber attack that crushes the economy, That's why I say don't leave a lot of money on exchanges, don't keep a lot of money in the bank. And it's like, well, where do you keep your money, right? It's kind of hard. Where do you put it under your mattress? Well, here's what I think. I think you should have, talking about doomsday right here, if it comes, it's always good to be prepared. This is basically insurance, right? You don't plan on getting in a car accident, but you have to have car insurance, right? So my insurance would be this: cash on hand, enough for at least a couple months, right? Food and water, right? If a cyber attack occurs, they can bring down the financial system, which means, remember going back to the cashless society? I don't even think I mentioned that, but cashless, right? Cashless society. People, the football player, he wants a couple $100,000, they won't give it to him. We don't have the cash. We're short on cash. We don't have cash. It's all about the cash. They don't want cash. They want to get rid of it. Why? Because cash, believe it or not, is a form of cryptocurrency. It's not really traceable. It is traceable, but it's, how in the beginning they say, oh, the cocaine and the drug smugglers, they use crypto, and the pedophiles and this and all this, they use crypto. No, they maybe they do, but they're stupid if they do. All the money launderers, they use crypto. No, they use cash. They use cash. You can't money launder crypto. It's all on the blockchain. If I am doing a dirty deal with somebody, all the FBI has to do is go on the blockchain, whether it be Bitcoin or whatever, and look at the transaction, right? So it's kind of stupid to do that. And then same thing with banks, right? If I send a wire transfer, they can do that too. But if I use cash, like our previous president did, he sent those pallets of cash to Iran. Why wouldn't he just wire the money, right? Because he didn't want people to know. So he sent helicopters, pallets full of cash to Iran, right? I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying, hey, that's what happened. And that's why banks don't want cash. So going back to insurance, right? You want to have cash on hand. Cash on hand is very important, because if something were to happen and you go to the grocery store, you pull out your debit card. Most people pay things with debit or credit. I always pay with credit. And you say, why? That's dumb. Because I get cash back, right? If I paid in cash, I don't get anything. If I pay in debit, it comes right out of my account. But if I pay in credit, I get cash back. I get rewards. It's not a lot, but it's something, right? And that's why I use a rewards-based system, right? So it's not like I need them to loan me money so I can buy $100 worth of stuff. I put $100 worth of stuff on my credit card, not because I don't have the cash, but because it's better for your credit score, right? You want a good credit score. It's better for that. And it's also better for uh, for you to get cash back. They're basically paying you to use it, right? And most people use credit cards. They have to pay interest. Obviously, if you have to pay interest, don't do it, right? If you pay your credit cards on time, you don't have to pay interest. So going back to that, and then also food and water, right? If we have a cyber attack and you go to the grocery store and their ATM machines are down and there's no cash, how do you buy food? How do you buy food? That is a real life scenario people should be considering. Do I think this scenario is going to happen? I don't know. But I think they need some type of scare event in order to, push us into this new system. Because, for example, central banks, like I said, they control the world. They know their system is dying. They need a new system. They have a new system. It's a CBD system. But how do they introduce it? How do they make the people beg for it? Well, if you have a cyber attack on the world's financial system and you are desperate for money, you're desperate for food, all my money is in limbo, it's stuck in the bank, I can't get it out, I can't pay anything, I can't buy groceries, I can't do anything, you would be freaking out like big time. It would be the biggest emotional breakdown in America, in American history, because every American would be stuck, right? And then we would be looking at those doomsday preppers saying, man, I wish I would have done that, right? Not saying that's going to happen. I'm not saying that's going to happen. What I am saying is they need to introduce their new system, and what better way to do it than when people are freaking out, right? Because at that point, they're going to be begging for a new system. We got cyber attacked. What? All my money is gone. What? I can't use any cash. What? No way. This can't be happening. Well, and the banks come out and they say, don't worry. We have a new system and it's going to be launched next Friday. Okay, do it now. They're not going to care because all they want is things to go back to normal. But things will not go back to normal. They're going to go into a more control state, right? Where they can control your money. If you buy too many Coca-Colas, they can turn your money off. If you send too much money to your aunt and not enough money to your cousin, I don't know, stupid examples. They can I'm not saying that's going to happen, but a CBDC is basically a controlled type of deal, right? So insurance, right? It's good to have insurance. And cash is going to help you with that. And then also food and water. So cash, food and water. And then whatever else you need. Like, people have guns, people have ammo, right? If you feel like you're not in a good neighborhood and someone's going to be, and they smell the barbecue, right? And they're hungry, they're going to come knocking on your door saying, hey, can you share? Right? And then if you say no, and then they have, you see what I'm saying? Things can get Walking Dead status really quick without the zombies, right? I always said, if you watch the series The Walking Dead, the zombies are the least of the problems, right? Everybody thinks it's about zombies, and no, it's about people. It's about people. That's the real issue in The Walking Dead. They can handle the zombies. It's the people, right? The people who want supplies and things like that. So, sorry, I ranted on long enough, but real quick, food and water, storage. If you're a subscriber of mine, I highly recommend it. I go to, and this is not an endorsement, but I go to mypatriotsupply.com and you can buy food that lasts up to 25 years. Think about it. You have car insurance, you have life insurance, you have homeowners insurance, you have health insurance, you have dental insurance, you have all these insurances, but you don't have the most important insurance of all. Maybe you do, I don't know. What is that? Food insurance. Food insurance in my opinion, is very. Remember C-19. Remember everyone went to go get toilet paper, and nobody can find any toilet paper. That was, I believe, something to remind us that, hey, if toilet paper can vanish, what about deli meat? What about, bread? What about milk, eggs, chicken, beef, whatever? That can do the same thing as toilet paper did. And you don't want to be stuck in the grocery store fighting over the last turkey sandwich, is what I'm trying to say. So, highly recommend going to, even go to Costco and buy cans, right? You need something, because if they plan this cyber attack, which I think they will, and if they target the financial system, which I think they will, because it's all everything you see on TV, whether it be our previous president, whether it be this president, whether it be Israel, Hamas, Russia, Ukraine, C-19, right? All of it revolves around what? The financial system. That's what it's all about. That's what it was always about. What do you think? The Middle East wars, right? It was about the oil. Well, what about the oil? It's about the petrodollar system. It was about forcing countries to use dollars to purchase oil with. And what does that do? It gives strength to the dollar. But what is happening right now? Countries are moving away from the dollar. Look at the BRICS nations. Countries are moving away, right? So what does this mean? The dollar dominance is dying. And what does this mean? The big central banks are worried. And what does this mean? This means they're planning something in order to make it not so, right? So I always say they disrupt and conquer. It's not always divide and conquer. Sometimes it's disrupt and conquer, right? If you cause a disruptions in the financial system, everybody's begging for a new system. You come on in and make it. But here's the good part. And you say, well, God, you're not leaving me a lot of hope here. I believe that when this happens, there's going to be two systems offered, right? The bad guy, central banks, they're going to offer their central bank CBD system. But then you're going to have the good people in government, and they're going to say, no. We want a different system, right? And what do you think that system is going to be? I think it's going to be gold. I think it's going to be a gold-backed system. I really believe gold will destroy the Fed. I believe that. Why? How would it destroy? Because gold is a reflection of their dying system. But not just gold, crypto as well. We can't use gold to buy groceries. That's ridiculous. We're going to use gold to back a currency. And that currency is going to be used, right? But here's the better part. We're going to have a competitive field of all types of currencies, like we have now, cryptocurrency. So if I want to use Litecoin, I can use Litecoin. If I want to use Bitcoin or whatever, right? So, THETA, same thing. So, but data would be used in a different utility value. Like, I'm not going to go buy groceries with THETA token. Maybe you would, maybe you can, but THETA is used for different things, right? So XRP for payments, right? For central banks. Basically, XRP is designed to reduce the friction in the banking system. That's all it is. Reduce the friction in the banking system. So, I'm going to end that there and just tell you, look, if we get regulations, which I believe it's happening, it's going to happen because they're going to be forced to do it. We get the institutions in. Remember Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank? He had that speech. Once the institutions come in, the spigots of liquidity are going to pour into this market like never you've seen before, right? So another reason why maybe the bear market's not completely over, right? Because maybe we have another bull run and then the institutions pretend like they come in at the top of the bull run, which will mark the top of the next bull run, right? So who knows? Who knows how it's going to go down? But one thing I know is just be prepared. Hold your crypto in your own possession. Have cash on hand. Have food and water, right? You need to have security because you know how valuable the financial system is to the central banks, the powers that be. They don't want to lose that. But crypto is the answer for them to lose that. And then also gold, right? So you have, that's why I don't like tribalism. You have gold and silver, you have crypto, you have blockchain, you have different technologies. You have like, I give it like a file coin. It's for filing, right? You have different things like Chainlink. It's an oracle. There's different attributes, right? So it's all, every player has a piece to the puzzle. Every crypto, every gold coin has a unique purpose. And that purpose is freedom, right? Anti-debt. Look at our country. It's $30 trillion in debt. Do you think that can be sustained? No. It's a rigged deal. I mean, if you look around, go back to the 1950s. It only took the husband, and you can have a beautiful home, 2 cars, 1 income. Now you have mom, dad, brother, sister, uncle, cousin, all living in the same house, all working and barely surviving because inflation stole everything away. And it's only going to get worse. So everything is boiling in a pot, and it's about who knows when to explode, but it's going to. And when the levee breaks, you're going to want to be positioned on the right side of history. And to me, this looks like a base. Wave 1, wave 2. We are like bottoming out here. So something's telling me we got some upward momentum on the horizon. It could take another year. I don't know. But I think it's coming sooner rather than later. Remember, election year is next year. We only have 1 more year with this president. So what do you think is going to happen next? A new chapter. And I think it's going to get worse before it gets better, but I really believe it will get better. And you are very smart and intelligent, because if you weren't, you wouldn't be in something so beautiful as this at the perfect time. So this video is not really technical analysis. So if you came for this, you didn't get it. I just basically gave you reiterate my previous video. But this video is basically just a random guy on the internet ranting about what he believes could potentially happen, not financial advice. I would love to know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you think I'm crazy, right? Because if I told this, someone like my dad, if I told this to my dad, he's older, he's going to be like, what the hell are you talking about? A lot of people who are in the older generation, they don't really understand crypto as much as the newer generation. This is another point of the adoption curve that we're about to enter, right? So I left you with all that. The least I can do is give you a small update here after me ranting on about. So zooming in real quick to the 4-hour chart, I mean, you could see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This could be a move like this before we get this and then go. So that would be a 3-wave move. So that's kind of potentially what I'm looking for. Not going to be exact, but basically, long story short, I'm still looking for some type of formation of this right shoulder. So if you look here, shoulder, head, So we need, I mean, this could be the shoulder right here, right? And it could be very small, or it could be a little bigger, right? It could be a little bigger, take a little bit more time, and then continue rocking to the upside. So still very bullish, still looking at 3 different options. Number 1, get above this high, hold above it, go. Number 2, continue to pull back, form the right shoulder, maybe even back test these areas down in here, and then go. Or obviously 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then go. So all directions lead to us going. We just have to work out this wave that we're in right now. I mean, it's very simple. We had a markup, a big markup, right? We had a big wave to the upside. And now we're in consolidation. So this consolidation can be like a bull flag continuation. It can be a little more like a 618 retrace and then continue. Or it can just, it can come down here, back test, then continue. So we have to wait and see. But as far as right now, it is holding up fairly strong. I mean, if you look, this is the 4-day chart. Let me go down to the 2-day chart. Yeah, it's just basic sideways consolidate. And notice we are consolidating at the top, right? If normally, right, if it's a pump and dump, price goes up and then it quickly dumps like this. But theta, it went up and now it's hanging out here. So what does that mean? Buyers, the bulls, are defending this move. That means this is a real move, and the bulls are defending it. And we're developing a base. Check out this base right here, right? So if we can just consolidate, break out, back test the base, and then continue higher. That's looking really good. If we break below the base, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. We're just going to come down. Like I said, you take this wave, you cut it in half. You cut it in half, and you go. It's all about patience. We just have to wait until this range is broken, right? There's no clear trend except to the upside. We just have to wait for this guy to make a decision. If we break down, that's a good thing because it gives us an answer. If we break up, that's a good thing too because it gives us an answer. And basically all the answers is based off time, right? We know the price is going to continue marching higher. The question is how and when. And I don't have the answer for you on that. But what I do know is we are very bullish. And we are at the beginning of the beginning. I mean, if I zoom all the way out, look at that. Look at that. It's just like a little tiny blip on the radar. So you could see this is a rounded bottom. We have our first markup, our base, our markup, our pullback. Take this entire wave, cut it in half, pull all the way back, round about, and continue marching to the upside. So thank you guys for watching. This is a long, ranting, opinionated video. I'm going to keep that, sort of separate from the TA part. But basically, I'm going to put this in a different file, right? This is like the talk show part of the show, right? So my opinions, the talking part is going to be separate, obviously, because a lot of people don't want to hear all that stuff, right? Everything I just mentioned, a lot of people don't care, or they just want crypto charts. Tell me about crypto. Tell me about charts. I don't care what you think, because everybody has their own opinions on what is going to happen, and mine could be different, right? And that's okay. But some people align with that and they want to hear it, and it's good to get it out there, right? Because if my information is having confluence with somebody else's information, then it gives more direction of what's going on, right? But yeah, as far as the TA, I'm gonna keep that separate. So again, we are just on the horizon of something to change. Now, the scary part is the big question mark is central banks. If we get up here and they have some type of cyber attack or some type of event, financial event, and people are freaking out, they don't have money, they can't buy any groceries because their debit card, they call it a credit freeze. I know Gregory Mannarino, he's a YouTuber. I highly recommend subscribing to him. He talks about a lot of this stuff. He's very smart, educated in the banking world and what their little dirty tricks are doing, right? So don't take it from me. He's an expert. He's the Wolf of Wall Street, kind of. So watch him. He's got good opinions on all this stuff. But if we get up here and they have their little event, they could bring it down. They could. And we can come down here and back test this zone, right? So it'd be a 1, A, B, C, and then go, which would be devastating, right? Because you'd be up here at that $5, $6, even up to that $10 mark, and then you come all the way back down, to back test this area at 20 cents or so. That would be devastating, right? Not from a longevity point of view, but from a time perspective, because that would take, at least a year before we get going. So I'm just hoping we can break out of this and go on our merry way before the crap hits the fan, right? And but if it does hit the fan before and we come down, then all the markets are basically going to deleverage and they're going to reset. And when they reset, I think the time that was invested in that and however long it takes to reset it is going to be well worth the prize at the end. So we just have to wait and see. As far as everything now, it's anybody's guess. Your guess is as good as mine. So with that, thank you guys for listening. I will see you on the next one.